I must admit publicly, I really did like the Giants draft. I was impressed. But I like my Cowboys draft a lot more. And I'll tell you why. They filled crucial needs with extremely productive, high motor college football players who I think will translate instantly into instant impact and bring much needed new energy to a defense that, as you point out, was riddled and raided by free agency. Okay. So that's the common thread for me. All of these kids were extremely productive in college football. They didn't win the combine because I don't care about the track meet that is the combine. Right. So I don't need all the measurables. I need more productivity, immeasurable. I need what you saw on tape, or in my case, on television. So real quick on the Giants. I cannot refute what you say about Evan Ingram. I said it on Friday. He is a weapon to add on top of lots of weapons across the board. And in a way, it's like Dallas did a year ago with Ezekiel Elliott. You strengthen your strength. Right. You know, you're already loaded at receiver with Brandon Marshall on top of Sterling Shepard, who I loved at the University of Oklahoma as your slot. And obviously, Odell, he says he's recommitted to having the best year. I thought he was already committed, but whatever. I guess.
Before you go any further, people might not realize this, but Evan Ingram at 235 pounds ran a faster 40 than Odell Beckham Jr.
Okay. It doesn't surprise me at all because he is a wide receiver of a tight end, a Shannon Sharpe after Shannon Sharpe. It's like he's the next sort of evolution of a Shannon Sharpe.
He's a true F.
He's a true F. And that's why I got to give them almost an A. I'll give them an A for that pick because it shocked me because I didn't know he was going to be there, that they would think that way. So I give you that. And listen, Davis Webb, I watched a lot at Texas Tech, and I liked him at Texas Tech, and I really liked him last year at Cal after he got beaten out at Texas Tech by our guy Patrick Mahomes, who was here on the show. And you know what? He's just a prototype pocket passer at 6'5", 230, and he's going to be the next Eli. So I give you a money in the bank pick for the Giants there.
Yes.
Eli's, he's 36. I always think of him as baby brother, but he's 36. And at the end of next year, if they're in the playoffs, he turns in January 37. So at some point, you're going to have to start looking at Davis Webb as the next Eli.
Well, you know what I noticed, Skip?
Yeah.
Except
for Tom Brady. He's a freak.
You see what I did, Joe? Because I wonder.
He shattered the mold.
Because every time we start talking about quarterbacks in the late 30s, you like, oh, we got to start talking for the replacement.
Most are human, but then there's this other guy.
But you got a feeling that Tom Brady's going to play till he's 48. But continue.
Yeah. Okay, so continue. And then I got to throw in, I've always liked Wayne Gallman, their third-round pick, the Clemson kid. Mm-hmm. He just gives you an honest day or night's work every time. He's going to maximize and overachieve. Whatever he can do, he will get it done the best he can get it done. And so he and Paul Perkins will be sort of the 1-2 punch. But I was so relieved, as I told you the other day, that Joe Mixon somehow didn't. I don't know if they would have taken him anyway, but if they had wound up with Joe Mixon as the running back they don't have, it would have been game over for my Cowboys.
I don't know if Joe Mixon could have survived that New York media.
I agree. So now back to my Cowboys. Obviously, they had a glaring need for just what the doctor ordered, a defensive end. I'm talking about a 4-3 defense, not a Von Miller type, not a stand-up pass rusher that you can move around. I'm talking about an anchor on one side of the line.
Put your hand in the dirt and go to the quarterback.
Correct. And this is Taco Charlton. He will
You just like saying his name.
Huh?
You just like saying his name.
I do like it, but it's a perfect cowboy name. You know, he's already got endorsement deals with Taco Bueno in Dallas, and it's here we go. So he can put his hand, he's a rock against the run, and I told you, every time I turn on a Michigan game, 33, I don't know why he wore 33, but he just disrupted. He harassed. He's 6'6", he's long, and he just has that sort of knack for sort of peeling around people and getting through and getting free. I can't do him. I can't sell him in the weight room or running the 40. He just gets free of his blocker and makes things happen in the offensive backfield.
You know what, Skip, they really need, unless you're a wide receiver, cornerback, or maybe a running back, when are the defensive linemen going to run 40 yards? When is an offensive lineman or quarterback going to run 40 yards?
Thank you.
Measure his 10 or 20 yard. How fast do you, because that's basically what you're doing. If you're sprinting to get to the quarterback, you're basically going 10 yards.
Yep.
How quick can you get off the ball?
Okay, and I told you the other day, I still am going to hold my breath for the next couple of years on Reuben Foster, who was there for the Cowboys and fell to the 49ers. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So that's going to haunt my dreams, possibly. But now let's get down to the other glaring needs. 2 cornerbacks they did need. So they go first in the second round, they go Chidobe Awuzie. First time I ever said his name publicly, although I did do a Facebook Live the other day, and I wasn't sure how to pronounce his name at that point, but I think it's Awuzie.
Awuzie.
And I watched him a lot. Joel Klatt called him Awuzie on the air on Fox Sports 1. And every time I turned on Colorado, I saw a guy flying around creating havoc. Fearless, hyper-aggressive. I'll take him because he flashed me. And again, the name is unusual enough. It sort of stuck in my psyche. And as soon as they took him, I thought, wow, I'm good with that. And then third round, this could be the steal of the draft. Jordan Lewis. Every time I turned Michigan on, I saw Jordan Lewis, and we're not talking about a zone corner because Awuzie is more of the typical Rob Marinelli cover two zone corner.
Yep.
Yeah, he's that guy. But Jordan Lewis, every time I turned it on, he is locked down, shut down corner. He is man-to-man, in your face, press coverage, relentless with catch-up, quickness, and speed. I just didn't see him get beaten. And he fell to the third round, and here we go again. He is facing one count of misdemeanor domestic abuse, and his victim, I'm just telling you what I read, had no visible signs of injury, but that does not mean she was not abused, so he faces a jury trial coming up, and that's why he fell to the third round. But on ability, if Dallas had taken him with their first-round pick at number 28, I would have said, okay, I'll do that. Again, that's regardless of the domestic abuse charge.
Skip, I forget the team. Wasn't there a team that took a guy in the first round that have some of these charges pending on him?
Well, it seemed like
the Raiders.
5 or 6.
The Raiders.
Oh, how about
Garcon from Ohio State.
Garyon Conley.
Yeah, Garyon Conley from Ohio State.
Yep.
Skip, I think the thing is for me is that when you look at Wayne Gallman, he's a solid runner. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. Mm-hmm. So I really like this pick. Now, Davis Webb. Now, the jury's going to be out because
we're going back to the Giants.
You're going back to the Giants.
Okay.
So when we look at Davis Webb.
Yep.
Okay, this is what, year 14 or year 15 for Eli. So basically, you bought yourself 3 years. Do we move on after 2 years, 3 years with Eli, or do we have to go back in the draft and get a? Because I don't know how you're going to be able to evaluate him, because it was really hard for the Packers to evaluate Aaron Rodgers because Brett Favre never missed a game. You got to realize Eli has 190.
But we didn't hear from Aaron Rodgers for 3 whole years.
And that's the luxury. Before then, Skip, you could sign him to a 5-year deal. Now he's a third-round pick. You only got him for 3 years before he's at the table, and you have to make a decision. That's kind of the decision with Jimmy Garoppolo. Mm-hmm. You got to make a decision after this year. Are you going to let him go, or are you going to franchise him? Now, with Eli, I think this is year 15. 2004 was his first year, right? So this is year 14 for him?
Can't remember. I wrote
year 14 for Eli. Okay, so
he's 12. He's played 12. This will be his 13th.
You sure?
I think so. I looked 14. This up before.
But here's the thing, though, Skip. You bought 3 years. Do we move on?
Oh, you know what? This will be his 14th. Because I was thinking of how he was against Dak last year. He was a 12-year veteran. Right. You got it.
So do we move on from Eli after, say, year 15, year 16, or do we have to go back in the draft? Because it's going to be hard to evaluate him unless Eli gets nicked and he gets to play meaningful games. It's hard to evaluate someone in your practices going against the scout team. So with that being said, Skip, I think Eli going to hold on for another 3 or 4 years.
You think so? Go 8 or 10.
No, because it ain't. Only Tom Brady's going to play. But I like to talk with Charlton. And what you mean by that, he doesn't, his measurables are not off the chart. He doesn't have a 42-inch vertical, and he can't run 4.5. But what he is, he has football speed. And he seems to be a football player. And he's malleable, which means he can bend the edge. That's one thing that a defensive end, outside rusher, that's what you want him to do. You need him to be able to bend the edges. And if he can do that as good as you think he can, Dallas has a steal at that low in the draft, because at 28, all the best defensive linemen went off the board, the Thomases, the Myles Garrett, the Allens. But to get this guy and he's still available, because that's what they need, Skip. They need defense. They don't need it. I mean, they get Schweitzer in what, the 4th round, 5th round?
Switzer.
They get him late. Okay, something happened to Cole Beasley. He can also return punts.
Okay, by the way, you know what they were doing there? And that surprised me, because Jake Butt was on the board and your Broncos took him, and I thought he could be the next Jason Witten, and they're going to need a Jason Witten pretty soon, and Jake Butt's probably going to miss part or all of next year.
This is Jake Butt's second ACL.
Okay. I just liked him as a player. I think long-term it was a good pick.
Well, you liked him more than I did.
He was the first pick in the 5th round, I believe.
Because when I look at him, I see a guy he's not sudden. He doesn't have fast twitch.
But you wouldn't have said that about Jason Witten either.
Jason Witten was. I would expect Jason Witten not to be sudden in year 15.
No, but I mean, he's never been, to my eye, sudden. He's just a big, wide body who knows how to run routes.
He had
screen off.
I think he probably had decent speed coming out.
I think he has decent speed right now, better than you think.
Yeah, well,
He could beat you right now in a 40-yard
Don't
dash.
do that
We know that, but
not even with the salmon jacket on, he could take me.
I don't know.
With some sneakers in this jacket, I get it
I
right
think
now.
he gets you. We're just running barefooted.
Okay.
Yeah.
But Skip, I love the fact that the Cowboys address needs, and it seems to be. Now, I don't know if Jerry is still making all the calls or maybe he's relying on people.
That Will McClay has been running the draft the last 2 years, and I think he's really smart.
And Jerry seems to be listening.
He does.
Because he got Zach Martin when he wanted to go a different position.
I agree.
He took another running. He took it. Well, Zach Martin was the Johnny Manziel situation.
Sure.
He hit it out the park with Zeke. Hit it out the park with Dak. Comes up with this situation here. I like what they did. But Evan Ingram.
Speaking of Tom Brady, Dak to me is Brady-like. He's not Tom Brady, but he plays the way Brady plays. He's efficient, he's poised, he's accurate. It's just take what the defense gives you, bing, 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 bing. And I think Will McClay or Jerry Jones or Stephen Jones said, hey, Ryan Switzer, you want to talk about a productive college football player who led North Carolina last year with 96 catches? In fact, Ryan Switzer made Mitchell Trubisky a whole lot of money last year.
Yes.
Because all he did was catch passes. Maybe not touchdown passes, but he is quick and slippery and elusive. And guess who he is? He's the next Cole Beasley.
Yep.
So now I think they went Edelman and Amendola. And I'm not saying these guys can either live up to Edelman and Amendola, but they're in the ballpark of two little scats that you can put in the slot at the same time if you want to put them opposite each other in the slot. And all of a sudden, it's pick your poison. And then you put Dez outside and whoever else outside, Bryce Butler or T. Will or whoever.
Yep.
So it gives you the Brady-esque edge where you can torment defenses underneath with the Wes Welker type. And Ryan Switzer was a 4-year player for North Carolina. And again, he can return punts. He can get loose. He doesn't have great ball security on punts. He fumbled too many punts. But that's after he was trying to break it for a touchdown.